Welcome to WorldWire. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. In the vast expanse of the South China Sea, a tense and high-stakes standoff is unfolding. Here, China, a global superpower with immense military and economic resources, faces off against the Philippines, a much smaller nation determined to defend its sovereignty and maritime rights. The waters between them have become a flashpoint where national pride, economic survival, and international law collide. China asserts its claim over nearly the entire sea using its controversial 9-dash line, a boundary that sweeps across waters also claimed by several Southeast Asian nations. The Philippines, on the other hand, grounds its position in international law, specifically the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS, which grants it rights to an exclusive economic zone extending 200 nautical miles from its shores. This legal framework, recognized by much of the world, stands in stark contrast to China's historical assertions. These overlapping claims have led to frequent and sometimes dangerous confrontations. Both Chinese and Philippine vessels, from Coast Guard ships to fishing boats, operate in the same contested waters, each side convinced of the legitimacy of its presence. Tensions often flare as ships shadow, block, or even collide with one another, raising the risk of escalation. For the Philippines, these waters are far more than lines on a map. They are an economic lifeline, providing food, jobs, and a sense of national identity. Generations of Filipino fishermen have relied on these rich fishing grounds for their livelihoods. The sea is woven into the fabric of daily life, and any threat to access is felt deeply across coastal communities. For China, meanwhile, control over the South China Sea is central to its broader strategy of regional dominance and power projection. The area is not only rich in resources, but also a vital artery for global trade. The result is a dangerous and unpredictable game of cat and mouse. Fishing boats, Coast Guard ships, and even military aircraft from both sides maneuver in close quarters, sometimes just meters apart. Each encounter carries the risk of miscalculation, where a single wrong move could spark a wider crisis. The constant presence of these vessels underscores the volatility of the situation. China's overwhelming naval power puts the Philippines at a significant disadvantage. The sheer size and capability of the Chinese fleet dwarf those of the Philippines, forcing Manila to seek support through international law and strategic alliances rather than direct military confrontation. Diplomatic efforts and appeals to global institutions have become essential tools in the Philippines' struggle to assert its rights. This stark power imbalance, combined with unresolved legal disputes, has transformed the South China Sea into a complex geopolitical chessboard. Every move is watched closely by regional players and global powers alike, each with their own interests and strategies. The stakes extend far beyond the immediate region, affecting international trade, security, and the balance of power in Asia. As the world's attention remains fixed on these troubled waters, the stakes continue to rise. The South China Sea is not just a regional dispute, it is a flashpoint with the potential to reshape the global order. The world is watching, anxiously waiting to see whether diplomacy can prevail, or if the simmering conflict will one day boil over into open confrontation. The South China Sea is more than a map dispute, it's about survival and ambition. For the Philippines, these waters provide food, jobs, and the hope of energy independence from untapped oil and gas reserves. Chinese blockades threaten Filipino fishermen and keep vital resources out of reach, stifling economic growth. For China, the sea is a strategic artery. 1/3 of global trade passes through, and control means projecting power and securing its southern flank. Militarized islands and naval patrols let Beijing dominate the region, signaling its intent to rewrite the rules of the Asia-Pacific. For both nations, the South China Sea is a non-negotiable national interest, one for survival, the other for supremacy. The outcome will shape the region's future for decades. The dispute has turned violent, with China using gray zone tactics, harassment, water cannons, and ramming against Philippine vessels. These aggressive actions are part of a broader strategy to assert dominance in the South China Sea, a region rich in resources and strategic importance. Filipino supply missions to outposts like the BRP Sierra Madre face constant Chinese interference, risking lives without open warfare. The BRP Sierra Madre, a grounded ship serving as a military outpost, symbolizes the Philippines' resolve to maintain its territorial claims despite the overwhelming pressure from China. China's use of lasers and dangerous aerial maneuvers, including near collisions with Philippine aircraft, has raised the stakes. These provocative actions not only endanger lives, but also heighten the risk of an unintended military conflict. Manila is pushing back, increasing military exercises and forging stronger alliances, while Beijing responds with its own shows of force. The Philippines has conducted joint drills with allies like the United States, signaling its readiness to defend its claims. Each incident ratchets up tension, making the region a powder keg. The constant military presence and frequent confrontations create an environment where a single misstep could lead to a larger conflict. The risk of miscalculation grows with every close encounter, as both sides refuse to back down. Diplomatic efforts have so far failed to de-escalate the situation, leaving the region on edge. The South China Sea is now a theater of brinkmanship, where one mistake could spark a wider conflict. The international community watches closely, aware that the stakes extend far beyond regional boundaries. The world holds its breath as the cycle of escalation continues. The future of the South China Sea remains uncertain, with each new incident adding fuel to an already volatile situation. The conflict centers on flashpoints like Second Thomas Shoal, a submerged reef that has become a symbol of national pride and territorial ambition, and Scarborough Shoal, symbols of sovereignty and struggle. These areas are not just geographical features, they are imbued with historical significance and national identity. Filipino Marines cling to the rusting BRP Sierra Madre, a grounded ship that serves as a makeshift outpost, supplied under constant threat from Chinese blockades. These blockades are a daily reminder of the ongoing tension and the precarious nature of their mission. Scarborough Shoal, just off Luzon, is blockaded by China, effectively cutting off access to vital fishing grounds, cutting off Filipino fishermen from their traditional grounds. This blockade not only impacts livelihoods but also stirs nationalistic sentiments. Even tiny sandbars like Sandy Cay become battlegrounds, where every grain of sand is contested, with both sides racing to plant flags and assert control. These acts of planting flags are more than symbolic, they are declarations of sovereignty. Each confrontation is a test of will, a high-stakes game where neither side wants to back down. As China flexes its might, showcasing its naval power and strategic capabilities, and the Philippines refuses to yield, standing firm in the face of overwhelming odds. These locations are more than dots on a map. They're the front lines of a larger geopolitical contest. Every skirmish risks escalation, turning these waters into a potential flashpoint for broader conflict, keeping the region on edge, with local communities living in a state of perpetual uncertainty and sovereignty in constant jeopardy. Diplomatic efforts often fall short, leaving military posturing as the primary means of asserting control. The struggle for these outposts defines the broader conflict, shaping the future of the region and the balance of power in the South China Sea. In 2016, the Philippines won a landmark legal victory at The Hague, invalidating China's 9-dash line and affirming Manila's rights. The tribunal ruled China's claims had no basis in international law and condemned its interference in Philippine waters. For the Philippines, it was a triumph of law over might, a clear, rules-based win. But China flatly rejected the ruling, dismissing it as meaningless and intensifying its activities in the disputed areas. The world saw the limits of international law when faced with raw power. The ruling gave Manila legal leverage, but without enforcement, China's defiance exposed the fragility of the global order. The legal battle continues, but the reality at sea remains unchanged. Outmatched at sea, the Philippines has turned to allies, especially the United States, for support. The 1951 Mutual Defense Treaty and expanded U.S. access to Philippine bases have strengthened Manila's hand. Joint military drills and U.S. backing send a clear warning to Beijing. Aggression could trigger a wider conflict. The Philippines is also deepening ties with Australia, Japan, and European partners, building a network of support. These alliances provide training, equipment, and diplomatic muscle, helping Manila resist Chinese pressure. China denounces these moves as containment, but Allied presence raises the stakes for any escalation. The dispute is now internationalized, giving the Philippines leverage it could never achieve alone. The balance of power in the South China Sea is no longer just bilateral. As 2025 ends, the South China Sea remains a volatile standoff. No clear winner, no easy solution. China's dominance is challenged by Philippine resilience and a growing web of alliances. Manila's assertive transparency and refusal to yield have raised the diplomatic and military costs for Beijing. The risk of miscalculation, at sea or in the air, could trigger a crisis that draws in the United States and others. Neither side can force the other to capitulate, and neither will concede. The fragile balance means the region will remain a flashpoint for years to come. The struggle for the South China Sea is far from over, and its outcome will shape the future of Asia. The final chapter has yet to be written,